Good afternoon. At this afternoon's Intelligence Forum's Who Are You podcast, we're very fortunate to have Joe Lewington, who's the Chief Environment and Sustainability Officer at Network Rail. And I should point out before I ask Joe the first question that Intelligence Forums prides itself on having no bias, political or otherwise. However, the caveat I put in for this meeting is I've had a lifelong obsession with railways and I am totally biased, so forgive me for that. Joe, thank you very much indeed for agreeing to have this interview.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
So the first question I'd like to put to you is, could you give us a bit of a rundown of your professional journey to where you are today?
Wow, yeah, certainly. I'm going to sound really old now because I joined the railway when it was British Rail. So my first year on the railway was 1993. It was a really exciting time because it was the year that we privatised and became rail track. Prior to that, my background has always been in property. So I studied estate management at university. That's what brought me into the railways. So I spent my first year in 1993 working for British Rail Property Board in their commercial property department. And my career since then has really been primarily in the rail sector, in the commercial property area of the rail sector, with a couple of career breaks to have children and a couple of kind of small projects that I worked on outside of the railways. And then about 5.5 years ago, I decided that the time was right for me to take a move, and I took on the role that I'm currently in, which is Chief Environment and Sustainability Officer in our technical authority, and that's in our Milton Keynes headquarters, our national headquarters, but it's a national role. And I've never looked back. It's such an interesting job. Every day is different, as I'm sure you probably appreciate. The railway is vast. I think we're one of the largest landowners in the UK. And it has purpose. I think anybody working in the railway is doing a job that actually has real purpose for the public. So yeah, that's it in a nutshell.
So when you talk about sustainability and you look at freight and passenger, to ask you a slightly daft question, but I think one that's very relevant. How sustainable for freight and passenger is the railway system?
I mean, it genuinely is one of the greenest ways to get around. It is actually from a carbon perspective, it makes up about 1.4% of the UK's transport emissions. So it's actually really low carbon. We have some way to go. Of course, we're not completely, we're not resting on our laurels and saying this is the, we're perfect. Of course, we're not. But actually, if you think about it from a freight perspective, a single freight train can take up to 76 lorries off our roads. I mean, it's quite incredible if you think about it as being what we would like to say the cleanest, greenest form of mass transport, be that passengers or freight. So the carbon and air quality benefits of rail are huge. And we're making it greener all the time. We're looking at alternative forms of battery and cleaner technologies that we can use. We're powering more of our stations and depots using renewable energy. So that's a real focus at the moment is on how we can transition to renewables. But we are really pushing hard to ensure that it is as green as it can be. Yes.
On that subject, are there any particular initiatives that you're bringing in that are particularly sympathetic to a changing climate? Is there anything you'd like to feature or highlight?
Oh, I mean, I was just watching the news this morning, and of course we've got another named storm on the way, which is always something for us to be mindful of. And climate change has really hit the railway. It's almost on a daily basis, it feels. But so I think we talk about weather and climate. Weather is a daily thing that we have to be prepared for, react to, recover from really quickly as we can. Climate is something that we really need to focus on because whilst, climate change, some people may say, oh, that's some way off. It isn't. It's here and it's now, and we need to be focusing on future climate change and with a huge amount of work going on looking at what we call adaptation pathways. So we have a dedicated weather task force that's established now. We have very close links with the Met Office so that we're always looking at what's coming, and reacting to that and preparing for that as best we
Mm.
can. But we're also looking at how we can adapt the railway going forward to ensure that we are as resilient as we can be to the challenges of climate change. So, focusing very locally on adaptation pathways, so looking at very local areas, but nationwide scale as well. What do we need to be doing now to help make sure that the railway is resilient to climate change in 10, 20, 50,
Mm.
100 years? We're now in our 200th year of having a railway in the UK. Isn't that amazing? But we
Yes.
want to make sure that our railway is still around in another 200 years.
So fly tipping, I've seen a few articles, and of course we all see it on the news, on television. So how much of a challenge is this fly tipping to the railway network, and what are you having to do about this?
It's massive. I mean, it's a bigger issue than I think most people realise. It's not just messy, but it's actually also quite dangerous.
Mm.
So I said at the beginning of our session
Mm.
here that we are one of the largest landowners in the UK.
Mm.
Our estate is around 54,000 hectares. Um, I always describe the railway as like the arteries of the nation. You're never far from a railway line, and that makes us one of Britain's biggest neighbours as well. And with that, comes an awful lot of responsibility. But the big challenge is that, dumped waste can cause all kinds of safety issues, all kinds of performance issues for the railway, things like gas canisters or asbestos, really
Mm.
quite dangerous items that people dump on the railway. Things that can attract vermin, and they in turn then can chew through cables, which can then cause issues with signaling, create delays on the network. So it's a real challenge. Some of the fly tipping that we get can block access for our engineers getting onto the railway to undertake repairs. So it can cost millions of pounds every year. It's something that is a real distraction to us actually getting on and providing a service. Our people still have to
Mm.
deal with this waste. And so we work really closely with local authorities. We work very closely with the British Transport
Mm.
Police. We're using CCTV. We're improving fencing to try and make the railway as secure as possible and to try and avoid the need for us to divert energy and resource onto having to deal with fly tipping when actually if we can avoid it happening in the first place, that would be the best thing all round.
And you have a partnership with the Tree Council, which sounds great. Could you tell us about that?
Oh, wow. Yeah, this is a really positive thing that we've done. The Tree Council have helped us in so many ways, but really help us connect with the communities that our railway serves and really helps us ensure that we're looking after nature. So we have to manage trees, of course we do, for safety and reliability
Mm.
and performance on the network. But we want to make sure that we balance that with making sure that we are creating good habitats, that we're restoring habitats, and really importantly, that we're improving the green spaces on our estate, not just because we should, because it's the right thing to do, but actually it has a really positive impact for the local communities as well. The Tree Council partnership that we have, they provide us with really amazing professional advice. They are the experts when it comes to trees. And so they help also connect us in with schools, with volunteering and local groups. We have a community-led planting scheme, which really helps improve habitats in local areas and ultimately boosts well-being and biodiversity. So it also really supports us with our ambition of nature's recovery. I don't think you can underestimate, the role that nature plays in the big picture. We talk about climate change, but actually collapse of biodiversity is a real threat and something that we as a major landowner have a real responsibility to play our part and make sure that we are protecting and enhancing our estate in that regard.
So, Joe Lewington, thank you very much indeed for this interview today. I'd also like to thank Christina Check, who engineered this meeting. And can I wish you continuing success in the future? I will be on the railway system on Wednesday. I'm going from King's Cross to Leeds and back. And may I say, that is one terrific journey. So
Absolutely.
thank you very much for all you do. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Harry. Take care. Bye bye.